Hey guys, how's it going? I want to say roughly a year or two ago, I bought this 1969 John Deere. Let's try again. This 1969 Cub Cadet 105. I bought this actually the same day that I was getting ready to go to my cousin's house to do some mowing for her. My brother sold some parts to a guy. He had this in the back of his truck. I asked him about it, and well, here it is now. I've had it now for roughly 2 years, I want to say. It's been around here for a while. Previously on the channel, we got it running. It had no carb on it, no ignition, no anything. I put quite a bit of work into it. If you haven't, it's been a little while since this tractor's been on the channel. I have some videos on my channel. If you go back and look, you can see what all's been done with this machine in the time I've owned it. Previously, we had an ignition problem. It was hard to start for whatever reason. I've never exactly figured out what the deal was with it. You'd go to start it, and if it was cold, forget it. If it was warm, I mean, it would try, but it would fail. The engine turns over fine, but it would go to start, and then it would backfire out the intake, and it would stop turning. And then it would continue turning, and the engine wouldn't start. It would do that again a few more times once you got it, or after that. And if you choke it, or you had to sit there and mess with it, you'd have to throttle it up quite a bit for it to kind of decide it wants to run. So I have a suspicion I've had some suspicions as to what I think it is. I also asked a Kohler group on Facebook, and I also asked a Cub Cadet group I'm in. I had a few people tell me unhook the key switch, run a wire from the battery straight to the coil, which I have done, as you can see, and that didn't solve the problem. There was somebody that told me to check the valves. I have not checked the valves yet. I've wondered if possibly the points plunger could be the problem, if it's opening too early, or if the points plunger may be too long or too loose or too short by a little bit, which could possibly be a possibility to my issue. Coil as well as points, maybe the condenser. So, and possibly that carb, but I don't think it's that carb. That carb is fairly new. So what we are going to do today is we are going to do something very unfortunate, and I'm sure you guys aren't going to like me all that much after this one, but oh well. This is my 85 212. I made a video on it recently talking about selling it. I listed it, and it smoked pretty bad. I had some interest in it, but most people that I got just kind of laughed at me over it. And I don't understand why. I mean, I was selling it off as, it ran. And it did run, so I went on there. And I had a few people ask me if I've taken the head off of it since I bought it and since it had diesel run through it by the previous owner of it. And I thought about it after a little bit, and I thought, maybe I should go on ahead and do that and just see what it looks like under there. Because I kind of figured that maybe there was some remains under there causing it to smoke, and that was just oily. So I pulled the plug out of it, and the plug was fairly oily. So I pulled the head, and to my surprise, it looked fairly clean, but the piston was full of oil, or the cylinder was full of oil. And I went to mess with it. So we've got, unfortunately, a wore out engine. We got a tired motor. So after I caught that, I pulled the listing down. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with it. I thought about putting the head back on it and just selling it off as a tired engine. But after sitting back and thinking about it, I thought, it's got some good parts on it I can use. So I figured we'd go on ahead and just part it. It's going to take an unfortunate road now, but maybe one day we'll get into it and we'll fix it. I looked up rebuild kits for it. I looked up the gasket sets, as well as I also looked at a new piston for it. They want 50 bucks, almost 60 bucks for a new piston. So it's kind of, do I really want to put that much effort into this thing, which is not worth that at all? Or do I just want to go ahead and take pieces off of it I need? I can use that engine for something else. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take the engine and I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pull everything off of it and probably put that engine upstairs and put a note on it. The engine did run, however, and it had plenty of power behind it. I think either the oil ring is stuck or the oil ring is shot. Both compression rings are good. You could dump the clutch on this thing and it would pull itself around just fine. So I know both compression rings are good. So I'm not sure. I do find that kind of interesting, and I'm kind of surprised to see that after, you know, that engine pulled fairly well. So I'm wondering too if the rings are stuck. I don't know. It's not really worth it to me to sit down and check it. I never really had an attachment to that tractor. Honestly, I never really cared. I bought it thinking maybe I would be interested in it, especially how cool it is being the 145th 212 built in 85. But it just never really interested me. So, oh well. I guess it's just going to be, you know, it's going to be parted. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to be taking the ignition system off of it, as well as the coil, or not coil, as well as the carb and maybe a few other things. So yeah, and then it's also going to be in some other videos that are going to be on the channel here soon with pieces that I'm taking off of it. So yeah, let's go on ahead and let's get the points and everything taken off of it for the ignition. And then we'll get them onto this, and we'll see if we can get this engine going or not and get it running better. So I guess we're going to go on ahead and get into this and see if we can figure out what exactly is going on. I think I am going to pull this carb off of here and just go on ahead and swap it with that one as well, since I know that one is good. Go ahead and take something, don't look right there either. Let's take this off. Just gotta reach in here and there we go. We'll pop that. Plunger out, we can look at it and see. It looks all right. I'm not sure how long or how short that needs to be, but I mean, that looks all right to me. A couple other things that I've started to wonder. I wonder if the cam gear on there might be wore out where it pushes the points, or maybe it's out of time. That's also another thing I've wondered. That looks all right. But I wonder, I was looking to see if I had an extra valve cover gasket around here somewhere, because I was thinking about taking that valve cover off also and looking at the valves and seeing if they're an adjustment or need to be adjusted. I'm wondering if the intake is opening too early, or maybe they have a compression release. That looks kind of oily. They have a compression release in there for when you're starting the engine. I wonder if that compression release is pushing up on the intake valve still when it's firing, causing it to shoot out the intake. That's the only thing I can think of, unless, because I mean, it runs good when you can get it to run. It'll run good and it'll pull its own weight around, and once it's run for a while, you go to crank it over, it'll start right back up. So that's what I don't get. There's definitely something off about it. I still got a gasket right there. trying to get this on because it doesn't need it. So we'll pop that back in there for now, I guess. But I mean, it moves, you know, it moves just fine. I don't see any issue with it, but there's obviously an issue somewhere. It's full of oil. Let's get that coil. Just go on ahead and get the coil off of it and just find out if that's the problem or not. And then I think while we're in here, we'll take the condenser off of it too. We could even leave that on this coil actually. All we really needed to take off was the points wire because this doesn't go to anything. Let's pop that off. That looks like a 7/16. I think before I owned it, a new set of points and a new condenser were put on that 212, so those should be new because I've probably put less than an hour on that machine. I think right here is where the coil is supposed to be mounted, actually. Which on here I have it down there. Which I think there's a reason. Oh, I think the other coil holding bolt in here was stripped, so that's why. Or it just doesn't have one, or that's it right there. Jump over here. Probably didn't need to do some of that. 12 volts, made in Mexico. Why is the Kohler engine tag down here? That's interesting. 301. Huh. This is a 12 horse in it. Let me wipe that off real quick so I can read it a little bit better, because I have a feeling that I'm not reading that right. It should be a K241. I wondered where the tag was on this. I've never seen it before. That's definitely a discovery. I can't read it. It's so hard to read. Over time, it has just gone away. I don't know if you guys would be able to read it or not. Can you? I swear I saw K301. And there's no other tag on here besides that one. We could look at the block and find out. Yeah. I did see K301. So I get a feeling that that might be what we have. We might have a K301. So we may have a 125 here. It could even be a 125. Somebody threw 105 dash on. That could be true. I don't know. I've had some questions about this one. Although I don't think it makes the power of a 12 horse, so interesting. Definitely interesting. I was wondering what that was. So right here is where the coil goes. However, I think I want to move it up here. And I think I could do that if I loosen that up, and I'd have to take this off in order to get to that. Probably. The 105, back in when they were making these tractors, the first two numbers of this number over here, what series you had, 105, 125, were the two numbers in front. For example, 10, 105, 10, that would be the horsepower. If you had an even number, it was a gear drive. If you had an odd number, it was a hydro. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 were hydros. 2, 4, 6, and 8 were gear drives, if I remember correctly. So again, I might be wrong. But, and then for example, if you had an 8 horse, this would be an 85 model because it's got the hydro in it. I think it'd be an 84 if it was a gear drive, or 86 if it was a gear drive. You don't really have to do this, but I kind of want to, because I think this is where it's supposed to be to begin with, is up here. And I like to have my stuff in the correct spot. So, that end, I don't really like having the coil down there because I don't want it getting nailed by anything, you know? I might actually grab a different, I have a couple other ones. Here's an update for you guys. You are back on the Canon camera that I have, the one that I used to film videos with until my memory card messed up on me. So we're going to see if we can avoid that problem again. Let's see. I got the new ignition system, ignition system on there from that 212. So let's go on ahead and let's see if we can get the engine to run. I have not put any fuel in it. Right now I'm more or less just checking it to see if it's got spark. I did see points. I did see spark come off of the points. So I do think that we have spark. However, it doesn't really look like the points are moving all that much. However, I think we'll be okay. I want to look real fast and just see how much gas is in the fuel tank. I don't think there's enough in there to run it, so we'll probably just go on ahead and top it off. Not top it off, but we'll just probably go on ahead and add a little bit to it, just to make sure that it's got enough to fire. I don't know if it's going to run or not. I personally hope it does, because when the engine runs, it runs really good. Just, for whatever reason, it's never exactly wanted to run all that great. I am considering taking the carb off of that 12 horse and throwing it on here still. I might do that, I might not do that. I guess we'll see. Let's get this. Well, it's already open. Okay. Let's see if it'll start. The belt's kind of loose, so I gotta fight with it. Of course, the generator's out as far as it can go. The pulley on the front of the engine's loose. If you have one of these Cubs, I'm sure you know how much of a pain in the ass that PTO setup is to work on. So, it's 20 degrees in here. This tractor never starts below 60. So this could be fun. Ready? Okay, what's your problem now? I haven't heard it try to fire off once yet, so ready? It would have been so much easier if they just put a normal starter on here. Or got rid of that stupid PTO setup. I do plan on getting rid of that. Ready? What Cubs should have done was stuck the pulley up here in the front of the engine and just had it run the drive shaft. That'd be so much easier and so much better. Does that engine look loose to anybody else? It does to me. Interesting. It keeps catching on my coat. Okay. Grab our little bottle. That's 32 to 1 for anybody wondering. My mixture used to be 50 to 1. I changed it to 30 or 32. I kind of go back and forth. Let's give that a go. Maybe it'll decide to go. Ready? Or just do that. We had something. I think our next step is probably going to be to just take that carb off and exchange it. Because I know the one on that one over there is good. Because I was just running it. Probably that spark plug too. Let's see if we can get it to start. And if we can get it to start, great. Ready? Of course you will. Yeah, that was hard to turn. I wonder why. I do agree it is a problem. An outrageously ridiculous problem. That should not be doing that. Well, we've gotten close. That belt's just, it's not going to do it. And that battery's cold. I can tell. Usually cranks a lot faster than that. Let's see, where do we want to go from here? I wouldn't mind doing something about this. Getting that figured out and solved, because I mean that's ridiculous. It should not be doing that. I wish that arm stuck out a little further to put more tension on that belt. But of course, you know, it doesn't. Well, let's give it one more go. It should be getting gas, but I don't know if it is. It should be, for sure. I'm just not going to put as much in there as I was. We may have just been putting too much in that cylinder. It was overdoing it. Ready? It tried. Did it try hard enough? No. I want to watch those points. I wonder, are we opening right? I was so tempted just to let it sit there until it burned up that belt. But you know, I can't do that. I have to be mindful. I want to watch them points and make sure they're opening. I don't even notice them moving. That could have something to do with it. Let's adjust these points, because they're I don't even know if they're moving or not. It's hard to say. Well, they're obviously moving if we're getting spark. You know, that's no question. It's just a matter of how much. No, I can't get that on there. I need a wider screwdriver. I adjusted the points on that engine. Let's go on ahead and let's see if we can get it to start better. If we can, that's great. So, yeah, we'll just do that and we'll see where things go. Still no fuel getting into the car. Well, still no fuel that I have noticed leaking from the carbs, so I'm starting to wonder if we're going to have to take that assembly apart. So now we got to come back over here just to end up going back over there. So yeah. So now we go back over here because we're going to have to fight with this. Ready? See what it does. I pulled that belt, or I pulled that generator over some, that way we could get more tension out of that belt. So hopefully we should be able to get enough tension out of it to spin the motor over good enough to get the engine to fire, which is ultimately what we're trying to do. Our battery's cold, so that could help if we warm it up, you know, but we're kind of limited as to what we can do. So let's try that. I did adjust the points, so hopefully we should be able to get it to go. I'll let that down. Ready? It won't even try to. Wonder why now. Let's grab that plug out of this engine too. I'm wondering where that went. Pop this plug out. Stick it in there. Maybe that'll help us some. Ready? I doubt it, but you never know. Interesting. Let's give that a shot. Ready? Something is obviously not right. I don't know what it is. Points appear to be moving as they should. I'm watching fuel drip out of that carb because that fuel valve is off. And I know our ignition wire is not the problem because I ran a wire from the battery down to the coil and it did the exact same thing. I wonder if it's the valves. There's a few different things that I wonder, you know, if that's what it is. I think the next step I want to take is I probably want to go on ahead and just pop them. I want to go on ahead and pull that valve cover off and check the valves. That's probably going to be the next step we take to see if maybe something there, you know, is off or something there is not right. And that's what's causing it to have all those issues. I really don't want to have to pull that engine. I really don't want to pull that engine. But if we have to pull that engine out to figure out what's going on with it, you know, I guess we really don't have a choice. With that being said, I think that is probably going to be our next step of action, is getting in there and checking them valves. So I will have to bring you guys back here once we get into that. So I think I have an idea as to what the problem is with this machine. I think that sediment bowl is plugged up. I ended up taking it apart because I pulled the line off of the carb to see if fuel was getting through it. because I was starting to suspect the carb was dirty, and no fuel's coming through it, even with this open all the way. Well, a little bit was coming through, but not much. So I pulled the bowl, and I looked at the bowl. The bowl was it was okay, but it had some stuff on the bottom of it. So I thought, well, let's try running it. We'll see what it does. It just drips. When I open it, you can see it should be flowing a lot faster than that. So with that being said, we've got a problem. What exactly is the problem? More than likely, probably this is plugged up. So we're probably just going to end up pulling that tank off of there and seeing if that's the problem, which if it is, you know, it's not that hard to get in there and go after. I would think that this would be. And you know, if we end up having to, we could just take that and swap it out for a angle. Well, I finally got some more of these. I got these for Christmas this year. So we're gonna see if, which way do I have that turning? That way. So we're gonna get these loose. You know, since I finally have, you know, a decent set that's not broken and long enough I can work with them. I think. How much further? Let's go with that. That's fine. Let's go to the other side. We're just going to go on ahead and pull the tank and probably take a look at it and end up cleaning it. Those are the same size as the ones for the deers. I figured these ones are a little bit bigger. It does have fuel in it. I also fixed my tripod phone holder. It's not great, but I mean, it's holding the phone right now, so if you've noticed the better quality, that's why. I figured that would be the wrong size. Swap this out for a 90, or if we can keep the sediment bowl, because I do like the sediment bowl and I would like to keep it. But I guess it just depends on how bad this is. Oh, we can't swap it because of that. That might even be plugged. I would expect that blowing into something that literally just had gas sitting in it, you would get gas to shoot back at you. Not a pleasant taste. It didn't seem like it had... Man, that doesn't... Why is that so hard to push air through? It's open all the way. I wonder if it's plugged. Where does gas come in? Gas comes in through that center. This is a sediment bowl for those of you wondering what it looks like inside of there. You can see it's not really much. I'm going to take this up front because it blows pretty hard. I want to take that up front and I want to see if we can clean that or blow that out with the compressor and get it to be easier to blow through. So I'll bring it back. Took that up front and I blew it out with the air compressor. I also moved the camera back because I figured you guys probably wanted a better view of everything going on instead of just, you know, seeing not really much. If you don't know who Vice Grip Garage is on YouTube, this is actually about the same way he films his videos. I really like the way he does it, where he shows you his face And you can see a little bit better what he's looking at because he's got the camera back a little bit more from the car and trucks he's working on, or the tractors he's working on. So I figured I'd try that style out, and we'll see how it is. Let me know if you guys like it. If you like it, maybe I'll keep doing it. But I do like having the camera back a little bit from what I'm working on. That way you guys can see, you know, a little bit more than what I'm showing. Because you start getting into an area when you have the camera up real close, you know, and, well, you don't realize the camera doesn't exactly see what you're doing, so. Definitely blows through easier now after blowing that out with the compressor. I actually should put some tape on there, but I don't know if that insert will come out of the tank or if that is a fixed piece. I see it turning. Look at it turning. Okay, we would want it to go 2 more rounds. And I know somebody is saying, and yes, I should have put Teflon tape on that. There we go. We can get it. Oh, good. That just started turning. Wait a second. Went too far. Is that how we want it? Yes, that is how we want it. The insert started turning, so there we go. So we could thread that out of there if we have to and put a 90-degree fitting in there. Let's close this. And after we do that, we'll pick this up in the air, let the fuel settle back down. Let's see if it, where's the thing? Let's see if it pisses any. I want to step back a little ways. Oh, there we go. I think it should be a little bit more than that. I don't really think we're exactly getting what we're supposed to out of it. I think it should go a little bit faster than that. So I think what we're going to do, since that insert I know will turn, we can go on ahead and pull the sediment. I will keep the sediment bowl. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I will keep it around. I think we're just going to take this, as much as I don't want to, I'm just going to take this off, you know, because what's the point in, you know, having it if it's just going to restrict fuel? Plus, that could be the whole reason to what we're having, as to why we're having issues. I can see right through that. That's not dirty. We could just experiment with it now since we have that out. Oh yeah, that's exactly what you want to see. So there we go. That's not our problem. Let's pop this fuel line off of here. Where's my pliers? I hate wasting gas like that, but you gotta test it somehow, you know. Let's get this. I normally don't put the clamps on the lines, and this is why, because I don't like fighting with them. There we go. I think that'll reach. So can we get this? Oh yes, we can. Cool. There we go. That looks fairly clean. So we'll take that and we'll stick it in here. And we'll have it aim straight out that way. By that way, I mean this way for the tank right now. But when it's on the tractor, you know it's going to go that way towards the carb. Right there. Just like that. But now I've realized the major flaw. We have gas in there. When we go to tip it on its side, well, psst. So we got to figure something out for that. I think this line should be long enough for us to be able to, maybe we can, it went up like that. We might just have to rig another fuel line up, you know, that's the thing. We got to put something on there, that way it doesn't piss everywhere. We could drain the tank, but that's too easy. We got to have a challenge. So I think what we're going to do, put this in there, clamp it. Once we do that, I wonder if it would be better to put the inlet side facing that way, run a line around the front of the engine up to the carb. I wonder if that would be a better approach, because you would get more line that way and you'd have more room to run a fuel filter through there if you ended up wanting to. But, you know, the only problem is, well, you're going to be wasting quite a bit of line when you can just put the fitting right here and have it go right to that, which I will do. I wish that I had a straight down thing that would just shoot straight down, not out at an angle like that. That would make it a little easier. Is that a crack? Interesting. So, just angle. We could get it to work. I mean, this line's already no good. Yeah, this line's no good. It's falling apart. Let's get a fuel line rigged up. I have some line over here we can use. The clear stuff. I don't know if it's rated for fuel or not. However, it's what I'm using it for, and it seems like it's been working well. So there's your answer. This is clamped together. And plus, I like it because you can watch. That's plugged. You can watch it and make sure that it's getting air or getting fuel. Let's see, how do we want to rig this? We don't need that much. We'll probably end up putting the clamp up here towards the nipple. That way we can, you know, not waste a whole lot of gas, or we can just run it a little bit further, you know. These ones are good because they have a flat, and, you know, they're not going to rip into the fuel line. There we go. So we'll run that over like so. Don't see any gas leaking into that yet. However, not a bad thing. So we want to, that's right where it needs to be, run this around. Do we want it around that way, or do we want it around the front of here? We probably actually want it to run just like this. So probably right here is where we want to cut it. Where is my pliers? Where are my wire cutters? What the hell? I didn't set them over there, did I? I just found them. Nope. Kidding me. I set them in the drawer. Okay, here we go. The cut that might screw us. Ready? It's done. So now, we want to run under here. I guess just for right now we do. Actually, that might work. There we go, look at that. I don't see anything leaking. There we go. I think it just filled up the carb. So I know that's getting fuel now, which is good. Have to watch it, make sure it doesn't piss. So I think the next thing we want to do is go on ahead and put the clamps back on the tank. Probably just going to go ahead and do that. That way we know that part is done. Now all we need to do is we need to figure out, I guess I am on it. That's a little bit different than I expected. We'll get these tight. It doesn't latch into my impact because the old bit slid itself up inside the head, so it only goes in about that far, which I don't really like. I need to get in there and get the rest of that head out of there, but it slid back so I can use it right now. But the only problem with that is I'm putting a lot of stress on that little joint right there, which I don't really like, so. I think that bolt just, the nut or the bolt just stripped. So there we go. I still don't, please tell me that's not a leak. No, it's still dry. It could be from the other day. Let's pop this back in there. Hopefully nothing rubs through that fuel line. Good. Do you want to start it and see if it'll take off? Let's do that. Let's see what we get. Let's just see if it'll start or if we'll have problems. Come on, there you are. Ready? Flooded. I think that carb has issues. I think it has since the day I put it on here. So we'll probably just end up going on ahead and swapping it out for the one that's on that 12 horse. Why is that open so far? It shouldn't be open that far. The only problem with the one on that 10 horse or 12 horse is this is the wrong knob, or for the wrong choke setup, but we'll figure it out. So, let me get the carb off. I know you guys have seen me do that before, and you probably don't really want to see me mess with the carb. So I'll get the carb taken off of it, and once I do that, I'll bring you guys back, and we'll dive into it a little bit further, and maybe we'll see if we can get the engine to run. If we can't, maybe we'll mess with valves. That might be the next target. So yeah. I got that quote-unquote new carburetor onto the tractor. Let's go on ahead and see if we can get it to start. Everything is hooked up as far as I know, from the fuel line to the throttle cable to everything. So let's give it some choke, make sure it chokes. It didn't quite close all the way, but that's fine. Let's see what it does. Surprised it's not trying to start. Oh, I see leaking. Damn it. Where is it leaking? Oh well. Now that should close all the way. Let's see if we can get it to start, since we know it's getting fuel regardless. Ready? I would like to know why it only tries to start when it's choked. I find that just really interesting. It only ever tries to fire when it's choked. And I can't see it from over there, but is it shooting gas out the intake, or is it just leaking? Because it seems like it gets progressively worse when I go to crank it. But there's no fuel pump. Seems to be going just about the same, maybe not. Interesting. We know we're getting fuel. Needle's probably not seating. I find that odd because it worked just fine when it was in that tractor, and that tractor has a fuel pump. I didn't need to do that. Throw that back on. Is that clamping onto the plugs, I wonder? I think it is. So, see, now it's, I was just about to say now it's not leaking anymore, but it is just not as much. It's not even leaking from where it normally leaks. It's coming from inside. Because right here's where it would leak, and if it was if this is the seat leaking, well, it would still be continuously dripping. But that's not the seat. As you can see, it's not dripping anymore. It only does it when you crank the engine, but here's what I want to know. There's no fuel pump on this engine. Why is it doing that? Something is obviously not right here. I have never seen this before. I've never dealt with this before on any other engine. This is the first one I have ever messed with this on. I've never had this problem. I don't understand. My thought is the engine's timed wrong, which has been proven false because, well, it runs just fine when the engine wants to run. It pulls, it pulls just fine. I've pulled stuff with it before and it had absolutely no problem. And when it's warm, it'll start right up. it can't be it can't be compression, because it seems like it has just enough compression to, you know, keep itself going. When you take the spark plug out, you can tell a definite difference in compression. I mean, it could be timing. You know, that could be it. That could be timing causing us to have problems. It could be, I don't know, maybe the valve's opening up. It's pissing gas back out the carb, though, when I'm cranking the engine. I've been watching it for the past few minutes, and I haven't seen it drip since I stopped cranking it over. So we put a new ignition on it, ignition. New points, new condenser, that coil, all of it came off of an engine that I know ran when I pulled all that stuff off of it. I even swapped the point plunger. So I know that's not the problem. We shift over to the carb. That carb worked on that engine because that engine ran just fine. That's not the problem. That spark plug and spark plug wire came off of that engine that ran. That's not the problem. Now, I could go all day long and just start swapping parts from all my other tractors that I know run, but I really don't want to do that. And I think, it just leaked. And I think we're starting to narrow it down as to what it could be. My thought is the valves. I wonder if the valves are the problem and it's not seating, or maybe out of time, which doesn't explain anything to me, because the engine runs just fine when you can get it to run. It'll run fine, it'll throttle fine, it drives around fine, it pulls its own weight around fine. You know, I mean, it doesn't show me any symptoms of being out of time. You would notice it if it was out of time. And then I start to wonder too, could it be a burnt valve? It seems like it has compression, so I don't think that's the case. Bad head gasket maybe? Although I don't notice symptoms. I think we are going to end up having to dive into this thing, taking the head off probably, and just getting a look at it and seeing what we have. I don't know what to expect, what I'm going to dig up. I would like to get that PTO clutch off and to see if we can figure out if it is a 13 horse or 12 horse, or a 14 horse. I had the suspicion of it being possibly maybe a 14 horse Kohler or even a 13 horse Kohler. Why do I keep thinking 13? 12 horse Kohler, the K301, because I did see that tag on there and it said K3. I didn't see what it said, but it said 3. If it was a 14 horse, it wouldn't, actually, it would make sense, because when you go to run it, it would bog down quite a bit when you put it under a severe load, almost like it wasn't getting enough fuel or air. That could be. I wonder if that's a 14 horse. We got a 10 horse carburetor on it. I apologize, I'm tired. 10 and 12 horse carb on it right now. So with that being said, maybe if we swap that out for do I have a 14 horse around here, or a 16 horse that's, no, I don't. Not that I want to take apart. So I got that 140 in the other room, but definitely seems interesting. I wish I knew somebody close to me that was an expert with these old Kohlers, a little bit more of an expert than I am. We could put our two heads together and look at this and see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. This is one of them situations where A friend of mine who recently passed away, I wish was still here. He'd probably be able to help me with this. I'm not sure where to go from here. More than likely, we're just going to end up pulling the head off of it and also taking the valve cover off. I really don't want to take the head off. I really don't want to take it apart, you know, but if I have to, I will. I think for right now, though, we are pretty much eliminating everything that I thought it was. Watch we figure out the engine ends up needing replaced. It could be, no, it couldn't be tired. It doesn't burn a drop of oil, it doesn't smoke. So, I mean, I'll bring you guys back if I think of something. Until then, I think for now, I'll just hold off for now. I gotta think about this. So I sat down and I slept on it last night, and I also uploaded a picture or a video to Facebook, a couple Facebook groups I'm in, asking people what they thought it could be and where to go from here. I had a few people tell me that it was more than likely the valves need to be checked if it's pushing gas out the carb like it is, which you guys did see in the video. So I think what we're gonna do next, the next thing that we're gonna do going from here, also the suspicion is that is not the original engine. The original engine was supposed to be yellow. So this is a replacement engine. I don't know exactly what it is because, as I said before, the block or the tin looked to have said K3 something. I couldn't read it very well. I went to wipe it off and it was gone. So there you go. So I think our next step is going to be, we are going to probably go on ahead and pull the head and just look at it and see what the head looks like and if it's full of carbon and if the valves are seating. Could be a valve problem. It could be, there's a few other things it could be. I've started to wonder if it's timing. Somebody also asked me if I had checked the timing or not timing, ever checked the decompression release. So that could be also another thing that we end up having to do is check the decompression release as well as the carbon in the valves and also valve lash. So I think that's where we're going to go next. So let's go on ahead and get the gas tank pulled, get that head taken off and look at it and see what we can find. So let's go on ahead and let's pop the gas tank off. See, I left it set with fuel on it overnight. I don't see a single drop of gas anywhere on the floor. So I know the needle and seat is not leaking. That's not our problem. So what we need to do now is we need to move the gas tank somewhere. We also need to take the tins off of the engine. And once we do that, we should be able to get in there, and that needs to come off probably. There's a bolt right there that needs to come off. dropped a washer. Great. So far, things don't look too bad. Except for that washer we dropped, which now we're going to have to try to find. I really don't want to have to pull the engine, especially to rescue a washer. Okay, well, I can't see it. It'd be nice to get in there with a magnet and dig for it. Here's our head gasket. Head gasket looks okay. Yeah. Doesn't appear to be blown out anywhere. It may have got hot right there. I mean, it looks okay. Cool. I think our other stud went right here. I'll have to remember that. So, grab my magnet on a stick. Let's see if we can find that. Actually, let me run in the house real quick and grab a flashlight, and then we'll come back to this. Went in and grabbed a flashlight. I want to look in here real quick and see if I can find where that washer fell. If we're lucky, it may have fell to the bottom of the shroud and I don't have to worry about it. I don't see it anywhere. So, it's hard to say. I can't see it. I don't see it in here. It didn't fall underneath. It could have fell down into the bottom of the shroud, which, as long as we're not hard on it and bounce around, it might be okay. I want to crank it over real quick and watch them valves and see if we have a valve problem. And maybe while we're down here, we can also check the bore, because that is something that we need to do. Wow. I will show you guys here in a second. That bore, this engine's rebuilt. It still has the cross thatching in the bore, so it tells me, unless it's a very low hour engine, that tells me all I need to know. Possibly somebody timed it wrong, causing it to not fire exactly when it should, or something's wrong with the valves. However, someone did go through it. Someone did put the time into it to hone out that bore. So that is a good thing. We do have a rebuilt engine, which explains why it runs so good. I don't know if it's a 10 horse or a 12 horse. I do have a 10 horse piston upstairs I can grab and drop in it, and we can see if it'll fit in there or not. Let me pull you guys out of the stand and we'll take a look at this bore, because I do want to show you guys it. Let's take a look, shall we? Can I fit you guys? Oh, I can. But yeah, look at that. It's still got the cross thatching in it. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but this bore still has the cross thatching in it. It looks really, really clean. So, I don't really think this engine has very many hours on it. I don't know if it was rebuilt or if it was just, I don't know. We'll have to find out. So, however, it did run good, so I do know the engine's still good. I want to watch the valves. I'm going to spin it over. I want to watch the valves and see how they are, if it's timed right or not. So that's where we're going to go next. So let's watch these valves and let's make sure they open and close at the correct time. It looks like the exhaust valve has already started to open, which I guess there's not really anything wrong with. That's going down as it should. That closes. The intake valve should have already been closed. when the piston started coming up. I noticed that when the piston started coming up, it was just starting, it was not completely closed all the way, but it was closing. And the intake, or the exhaust valve appears to be open a little bit. Now we're in the compression stroke. The exhaust? Oh, wait a second. Hold on a minute. Am I turning this backwards? Intake's opening up. Intake closes. Yeah, see the piston is starting to come up and that valve is still open. Compression coming down. Exhaust is open. Okay. Now it's closed. And then the cycle repeats. So, okay. I think what we have, the valves might need to be adjusted. That might be it. Somebody has obviously been into this engine. I don't think that's original. However, it could possibly be the engine just has no hours on it. That could be another thing too. So after doing some digging, I think I know where I'm gonna go next. I noticed on the intake valve, I also went over it and cleaned up the piston where the head bolts onto it, and I also went and did the head. Where did I? Right there. I cleaned up the head and it looks fairly good. So I think what I want to do next is I want to go on ahead and pull the valve cover off and check the valves and see how they look. I'm starting to wonder if they're out of adjustment. The intake valve appears to open a little bit too far, a lot further than it should. So that might be the next thing. Plus, I also pointed out earlier in the video how as the piston's coming up, the intake valve is still closing, which it should not be doing that. So I have a suspicion that's the problem, and that's where we need to go next and see if we can figure out. So I think without further ado, let's go on ahead and get the carb off of it, because we're gonna have to take that off anyway in order to get to the valve cover. And once we get to the valve cover and get the carb pulled off there, we can go on ahead and run from here and see what else needs to be done. So yeah. So unfortunately, you guys aren't going to be able to see very well, but I think I've got you guys in a position where you should be able to see enough. Let's get this off. Actually, we gotta get this off of here first. Which, again, take that off and set it aside. Also confirmed, this engine is a K301 today. So, did get a better look at that tag. So, this tractor has a K301 in it. So, neat. Just get it out of the way. We're probably gonna have to take this off. Where's it? 7/16 wrench. I might not need one. Might get lucky here. Let's see. And I will show you guys how to adjust the governor if I remember to. So don't let me forget if you guys want to see how to adjust that. So now, should trying to get it to open further. I hope that it is. There it goes. There we go. Probably want to clean that up a little bit. So there we go. We got that off. So now we can pull that valve cover. I can't remember if it's a, I think it is a 7. Should be a 7/16. We'll go on ahead and we'll pop that off. So my suspicion is after I cleaned up that piston, it says STD on it, therefore that piston's not original to the engine. So I think somebody has been in this motor in the past. I think they just changed the rings and they honed out the cylinder, and I think that's pretty much as far into it as they went. So we're probably going to have to, they may or may not have done anything inside the engine. Maybe they took the balance gears out of it if we're lucky. I don't know if this engine has balance gears in it or not. I don't like balance gears, and I prefer they be removed. So maybe we'll get lucky and find out whoever was in it before us took the balance gears out. Let's get this off. We'll set it off to the side over here. I didn't see a little filter inside of there, or a little mesh. Down in there is your valves. I see that they were getting oil, which is good. This is RTV. Was it? It looked like it was RTV. Maybe it wasn't. No, this is a gasket. It looked like it had a little bit of RTV on it. I'll have to clean this up some with the wire wheel probably. So here's your valves. Exhaust you want to be 17. Intake you want to be 8. So let's grab our feeler gauge. And then also this will lift up a little bit when you're spinning the engine over slowly. That's the decompression. When the engine starts to spin fast, it doesn't do the decompression anymore. So if your exhaust valve is lifting up a little bit on these old K-series, that's normal. So don't worry about that. So let's grab 8 thousandths. And then after 8, we'll grab 7. We want to check the intake. Oh yeah, that is way out of spec. So let's go on ahead and do that. I think this down here is 5/8. This up here is a 1/2 inch. It might be 7/16. Actually, that down there might be 9/16. Bear with me, it's been a little while since I've done this. There's little ridges in the tappet. The tappet is this down here. There's a ridge right there and right there. You put your wrench on it. That's a 1/2 inch. And that is where you turn the tappet. See? And then you put a wrench on here, 7/16 wrench up on that top nut or bolt. You turn that, and that's how you adjust your valves. So we want to adjust it up to tighten the gap because our gap was too loose. So we need to go up with it. Which now we have tightened it up. Or you can have that valve open and this valve closed. You could do that too, as long as the valve you're adjusting is closed. So let's take and turn it this way to open the gap a little bit, just to make sure that we're still can't get that in. You don't want it too tight, but you don't want it too loose. It almost wants to go in, but it doesn't want to go in at the same time. So let's get our you do want some resistance on it. That's probably too much resistance. Come on. There we go. That feels fairly loose. That actually feels just right. I like that. That feels fine. So now we need 18. So I'm sitting here messing with this cub. I should have filmed it. I just now thought maybe I should pull the camera out and do some filming. I got the PTO clutch off. I'm sure you guys can see it down under the tractor. I'm not going to say how because I know someone's going to get offended by it. Let's just say an angle grinder was used. I was sitting here drilling this out. The hole was kind of small. It was too small to get a bolt into to get it to work. So I'm just drilling it out. I thought maybe I should pull the camera out and do some filming on this because I'm sure you guys are interested to see. I got this back so there's no wobble or play in it anymore. And I've got this nice and tight up against it. This is the PTO bearing. For those of you wondering, I can't get it off, so I just slid it. I already cut on it. I'm probably gonna cut on it again once I'm done doing this. And then after that, we'll find something to put on there and also take this locking collar off because we don't need it on there. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just gonna continue on with drilling this out. And then once I do that, and I know someone's saying it right now, you know you have a lathe, right? You could just take the crankshaft out, chuck it up in the lathe and get it to work. Yeah, I know, but well, this is easier, so. Grabbed a tap that I need, and I've also got the bolt. I want to pop this off once we get this in here to make sure it'll tap. Move on me. Tight enough. I must have just stuck it in there, I guess. Didn't even. Straight. Now we're in. We'll just get this tapped. Probably end up having to put it in the drill here. Don't tap in second gear, tap it in low gear. That way it'll give the drill some, the way the drill can put some torque on it. If you have to, don't be afraid to back out of it and go back in. I don't ever recommend going full speed into one either. But sometimes you really don't have a choice. See, now I've got it gripped on the end, so hopefully we shouldn't have problems anymore. But just take it easy and go slow. I think we're at the end. Another thing you don't want to do is break a tap. That is the worst nightmare. I think we're at the end. I just want to confirm that. There we go. 50 degrees in here today, so I've got the doors open and all the lights off. That's why the phone decided to turn on its flashlight, for those of you wondering. So there we go, that thread's in. It's a little loose, but the thread's in there all right. So now I want to get this thing off of here. That's on the priority list next. Maybe this time we'll... Oh, I gotta turn the lights back on in order to use the fender. We'll chop that off there. So hopefully now, while we're rubbing on that, we're rubbing on that bolt now. I see. Ah, shit. Yeah, I knew something seemed off about where they put that. We might need a thinner, we might need a bolt with a thinner head. Let's get this off and get that off. I want to pull this pulley off of here anyway. So, I wish that was over a little more. And usually once you're through that, through this, it'll fall. Didn't do it for me. There we go. Just be careful. You don't want to cut into the crankshaft, because you will damage it like I did. I don't want to bend this pulley either. I want to easily and gently get it out. I did loosen this collar. There's no reason why that should be on there tight still. So we'll just see if we can. Yeah, see, it's still doing its thing. Both collars. Oh, now it wants to. Let's get this belt off of here. That's the next step. There we go. Oh, that's got a new, looks to have a new seal. That's good. That doesn't even leak. K301. We have a 12 horse. So I think now what we need to do, oh, that's the only spot. I can't put it over here. There's no hole. These are really limited on holes, aren't they? Either a thinner bolt or a spacer to put back air. Yeah, that key is mauled from all the years of doing that. I think I have another one, maybe two upstairs I can look at. The pulley don't look terrible. I've seen better. I've actually seen worse. You can slide that back on now since we don't have any collars. If we can get on that with the grinder and grind that back some, or put a spacer, we'd probably be better off just doing that. Put a spacer or a thinner. I don't really want to chop on that, but if I have to, I will. I would much rather just put a starter on it. Let's see, what do we want to do here? I think we can go on ahead and just put our pulley back on. If we flip it around, no, I'm gonna put a stop to that. We can't flip it around. We could, but I'm not going to. Well, yeah, it would rub and it would be out of line. We probably want to put a, yeah, see that right there is in line, so we do need a spacer back behind that in order for it to be straight on. And a better key than what was in there, because well, that key's dead. We got these down here that came off of that PTO, but they're not going to do any good. Let me see what I have. Maybe I have something that we can throw back here. So I had an idea, but I also ran into a roadblock. As you guys can see, I have this lock collar on here, the one that was in front of the PTO here. The only problem that I have run into so far is, as you guys can remember, the groove or the pulley on here would wobble back and forth. The key ruined this crankshaft. It put a groove in it going out towards that way, which explains why the key was moving back and forth. So we've got two options: save this and try to use it, or just swap it, put another crankshaft in here, which we probably should do that, but well, I'm all for saving things. So we're gonna try this method, and we're just gonna see if we can get this to work. So let's get, we're still off a hair. We're not really off, you know, that much. Yeah, if we can get it up here, we're still off a bit. But yeah, so far, I mean, it seems like it works. Hit that seal, especially since it appears to be good. That's another thing I was considering doing, is changing that seal, since we're in, well, we appear to be dead on, which is good. Pop this out of here real quick, so that we can adjust the generator, so we can get the belt on there tighter, or so we can get the belt on there easier. Let's take this, like so. Of course it's gonna wobble still, but well, right now it's fine. It appears that we are on there straight. So that's good. The pulley doesn't appear to have a wobble. Well, obviously right now it does, but hopefully once we get a key stuck in it, and everything. I don't know if I probably should not reuse this key, but you know, I might have another one upstairs I can grab if I end up needing to. I also am wondering if this crankshaft is too small, because it almost appears to be, because I don't think that should wobble like that and have all sorts of play in it at all. See if we can get this thing to go in. Yeah, see, it's still gonna find that groove. That's what I was afraid of. I don't even know if putting a new key in there is gonna help it or not. We could crank on it as tight as we... I ran upstairs and grabbed another key. This one's longer than the one that I had before. We may have to do some cutting on it. Hopefully not. Well, that's a problem. That's too small. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Maybe I got another one. Well guys, I'd like to continue this video, but unfortunately we're gonna have to end it here. I'm gonna have to do some part searching now since we're finally into it, getting the things that I've needed to get done for a while on this tractor done. At the moment, I am currently having to find, I gotta decide what I'm gonna do with that crankshaft, as well as I need to decide, I actually don't really need to decide. I need to find a key for the crankshaft. I also need to find the gaskets. I know where the gaskets are, I just gotta order them, as well as a key. I don't know if I can find a key for it or not. I guess we'll find out. And I also need to order a head gasket, and I got to decide if I want to pull the... I'm tempted just to go on ahead and pull the engine out and do some checking on it. I want to see if... I don't think it's got balance gears in it, but you never know. Maybe whoever was into it before me took them out. I'm wondering if that engine was a replacement for this tractor, and it was put in sometime in the 90s. And it's got little to no hours on it. It would explain to me, you know, why it's got cross thatching in it still. But I do see that the piston says STD on it. Usually the old Kohlers, when the engines were brand new, they didn't have any markings on the piston. They just stuck a piston in it and that was it. So I'd be curious to find out about that. So more than likely it's probably just... someone's been in there, they probably did some work to it. Hopefully they pulled the balance gears out. So yeah, well guys, I want to thank all you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If this is your first time checking out my channel, please consider going down below, hitting that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you guys a thing. It tells YouTube that people watch my videos and like them. And it also tells me that you guys watch my videos and you guys like them and you want to see more. Leave me some comments down below. I like reading them, and I do respond to comments on my videos, so... if you want to talk to me or you got something you want to say, leave me a comment down below. All right, guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.